This is Gateway City Sports.
It's a trap!
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
This is the Team of Rivals podcast.
Everything you want to hear from the big sports to the big screen.
He's all by himself, fires into the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! No!
Vaughn into the windup and his first offering. Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed.
Doesn't like you. I don't like you either.
Time winding down, Michael for three. Yeah! Yes! She is gone!
I can't believe what I just saw!
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
You believe in miracles? Yes!
You may fire when ready.
What?
Welcome, Cubs and Cardinals fans, to the Team of Rivals podcast, proud members of the Gateway City Sports Network, where you can find great podcast and blog content. Here we are, recording on Thursday, October 20th. The Yankees are trailing the Astros. The Padres and the Phillies are knotted at a game apiece. And the Cardinals got eliminated in 2 games. Follow us on social media at Team of Rivals Pod, or find us online at Team of Rivals Podcast. Time we post new content. Oh, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, we know it's mostly gentlemen. We let him out of the paywall. He's back. He's talking.
Back, bitches. I'm back.
Permanent occasional guest host, Elliott Dewey. And of course, as always, co-founder of TOR and number 104 in the 2021 edition of the Top Cards on Twitter. I can't wait to see the re-rankings this year, Ron. I think
I'm gonna
you're due for a climb up to at least the top 100 again.
I don't think so. By the way, yeah, I'm here. I think I might fall out of. It's like the Hall of Fame balloting. You know, if you keep falling down, you don't get enough votes, you eventually just fall off the ballot. I think I'm getting dangerously close. And by the way, so one of the joys I get, there's a silver lining to the end of every year. And my silver lining is when baseball season is over, I get to mute about 100 motherfuckers on Twitter until the next baseball season is up and going. And so it always brings me a little bit of joy. Now my feed gets pretty quiet, but
it's not the worst thing in the world.
It is not the worst thing in the world. So I'm on Twitter much, much less, which is healthy for anybody. So yeah, I predict that. What was I? What, 121?
No, 104.
104. Okay.
Right.
I'm either going to fall back into the 130s, or I think I'm off the ballot. I think he only ranks like the top 150.
All right, we'll see. It'll be an interesting debate.
I don't know. I didn't think about it. I should have wrote us in. Because we're not even on. We're not even up there to vote on.
Well,
I don't think
it's not like we're prolific Twitterers,
and we're not like exclusive Cardinals.
I think we did more shit talking to Cardinals fans this year.
Well, and when you say we, you mean me.
Yes.
Yeah. So, sure.
Ron talks shit, and I just stir the pot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Elliott,
hard to do.
Before we get into any real content, how about you update everybody on what you've been up to? Because what they can't see, that Ron and I can see.
There's a fucking mess behind
you know that
mess behind
that big box of cords every guy has. Yeah, that's behind me, spread out all over my bed to set up my entire system that I have here of monitors and game consoles and.
How much of a victory lap do you take when your wife needs a cord or a cable of some sort, and you go to that box or bag of shit that she's been on you for years to get rid of, and you pull one out?
Got
and
it
you're
right
like,
here, honey.
You know?
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? They give us shit about the cords. Like we do. We hoard any kind of electrical cable, cord, connector, you name it. Okay, let me search through your closet for the gift bag, the big one that holds all the little gift bags. So don't give me shit about cords.
Or like the bags that they sell at the store so you can take your groceries home, but they never take them to the grocery store with them. So they always buy another bag at the grocery store. Yeah. So all those bags continue going into another little bag or big
I got to tell you guys, though, I had an oddly satisfying experience a couple of weekends ago. Boy and I were at my dad's, and he had a small flood about a month and a half ago, about 3 inches of water. It ruined some boxes and stuff. So we've been taking the opportunity little by little to go through a bunch of the boxes and stuff that he has downstairs, even the ones that weren't ruined, right? Kind of cleaning up my dad's basement. And he assigned the cord box to me. Oh. Felt really good to go through there and say, Dad, you don't need this. Dad, you don't need this. You don't own anything that this will hook up to anymore. Dad, you really don't need this one.
Pete, I believe
this pile was probably, I don't know, maybe 2 feet around and about 18 inches tall. And he said, are you sure I can get rid of all of those? I said, they're not going to do you any good, Dad. Just throw them out.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Pete, now that you mentioned that, I believe that when I moved into this house, I did go through a few things. Old electronics ended up just taken to a recycle center. I know shit found the, what was that little device we always used to carry around? You used to carry it religiously. It was a Palm Pilot. I found my Palm Pilot cord.
Ooh.
Is he frozen, Elliott?
I think he's frozen. Or he's just a real good mime and we didn't know it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if he bounces back. But
there he is.
We missed your reaction, Pete, if you had one.
Yeah, no, I acknowledged it and nodded.
Okay. That's great. That's great for audio.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
Well, just right at the exact time that apparently my internet connection decided to be unstable, even though I'm getting.
Oh, mine was too for about 10 seconds of your intro. So it's just going to be silent. And probably anybody will hear as a fuck from me right in the middle of silence, but I'm not going to edit it out.
That's about right.
Love it.
Right. I love it too. You hit record, by the way, right?
But going through my chords, I did find a couple that I probably don't. A couple of RCA chords that I may not.
You gotta save
anymore.
At least a set of those because you never know.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm saving one set, and I actually have one of the RCA cords that goes into the 3.5 millimeter jack that we all used to use to hook our iPods up to our stereo systems.
Yep. Well, I have a assortment of those kinds of things from my old board. I don't know if you guys remember the old Yamaha board I used to have, but I had to hook up all that little stuff individually. So like phone lines and everything would be hooked up by those, 3.5, those, what is it, eighth of an inch jack to RCA cables. And I bought shit that I didn't need because I didn't know. Because when I didn't know what I was doing, I bought every cord I could possibly conceive that I would need to hook something up with. But you got to save a pair of RCA jacks for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you, as I was cleaning up, my dad still had, I think I can, we burned them. My dad still had the boxes from when I sold him his receiver and his 5-disc DVD changer when we worked at Sears. 20 years old, he still had the boxes. Dad, I don't think you need to keep these.
No, but the HDMI cable sure hasn't advanced very much in the last 20 years, has it? And that's been one that's kind of stuck. It's like it's like a power cable. The 3-prong power cable you put in the back of a monitor or the back of a desktop. Not that many of us have desktops anymore, but that cord has had some longevity, as well as the good old HDMI, man. That has been battle tested, and they have not found anything better right now. So give it up for the HDMI, man.
Hey, you want to know another sleeper that has lasted? The optical audio cable.
That's right. And, I've used that a handful of times. I think I had a surround 2, Pete, that I needed to plug that into. But, God, I have not touched an optical cable for a long time.
My soundbar that I bought, 2 years ago when I moved into this place, it has an optical input. And I've been having problems with, I don't know what the update was. Long story short, I've been having problems with the HDMI signal, hooked up the optical, and it's just fine.
Huh. There you go. I have so far from Apple TV to my sound system out here has synced really well. I was worried about that. Anytime you sync Bluetooth wireless, does it match the picture up? It's an actually pretty good job. Good. Okay, well, great.
Welcome to the Audio Talk podcast.
Yeah. Tech on tech.
Our special guest next week will be Matt, our old buddy Mac, and old shitmouth.
Chad.
He'll be joining us. And Dustin will be calling in for his monthly audio file update.
There's nothing tech that man is going to update us on. I can tell you that right now.
Sure he will. He'll be able to update us on the latest in vinyl technology, as we have Dustin's Vinyl Corner every month here on the Audio File Podcast.
Maybe the latest in XLR cable technology. That's probably about what it's limited to. Maybe an amp or two. And that was about it. All
right, so yeah, this is a Cubs Cardinals podcast, even though you may have been unconvinced of that by the first 15 minutes of this show. So
how many old men just said, Jesus Christ, what are they talking about? Like we're a good 10 minutes into this thing.
It's not the old men, it's the young kids. What?
It is, man.
RCA.
We're only speaking to that sweet spot in the middle. And when I say sweet spot, I mean like 2% of you.
Basically, we're talking to you, Greg.
Mini HDMI.
That's it. So, Ron, we were going to get on Sunday, but we didn't because between the time that it took for us to record a podcast last week and then for the weekend to come around, the Cardinals were eliminated.
They were.
Did you have time to get angsty about that wild card series, or was it just...
No, not really.
Over before it began.
Yeah, no.
I'm sorry, it was a divisional series. It just felt like a wild. No, it was a wild card.
It was a wild card series. Yeah, no, it was a wild card series. And, like the first game, 2-0, top of the ninth, you have a closer who's been pretty damn solid all year in Ryan Helsley. Got a couple batters out, and then just the wheels fell off. Now, he suffered a little bit of a sprained finger or something in a meaningless game against Pittsburgh about 3 or 4 nights before that. Took a little ground ball back and jammed. It was just a jammed finger. So Marmal's caught a lot of criticism from fans, I guess, and some even in the media for not pulling him a couple batters earlier, which I don't argue with. You should be able to hand a closer a 2-run lead and expect that. 9 times out of 10, they're able to hold that down. But with that said, 2 runs in the entire series doesn't win you many ball games. You're basically asking your pitching to be perfect. And I've seen this team all year long, and unbelievably, in the playoff teams that were left, the Cardinals had just runs scored per game average was 5th amongst those listed teams, which was hard to fathom when you saw them go collectively through so many cold spells throughout the year. They'd have a blowout one game, they'd score 14 runs, and then they might score 3 or 4 over the next 3 or 4 games. And it was like that all year long. In September, we saw how poorly they played. And they played a lot of meaningless games in September, but you could say that they really fell flat on their face in this wild card series. They should have had a pretty good chance to handle Philadelphia, but they didn't. Philadelphia did just enough to get by them. They did a little bit more and got by the defending World Series champion, so you can't feel terrible about it. But yeah, that was a disappointing, for all that push and all that time to wait to watch them go out with a whimper in that second game. No runs at all. I can't remember how many hits they had, but yeah, first game was pretty much the nail in the coffin for them. You could see that one coming. Once that lead was blown, and the Phillies ended up winning that game, I think 6-2. I think the final was like 6-3, but just not enough. Very disappointing. But my opinion on the playoffs has always been, I don't think they're getting that deep into it anyway. I think the wild cards winning the wild card series was probably my best hope for them, because I didn't think they were getting past the second round anyway. So I missed out on another potential 6 games if there was a game 3 in the wild card series. So cut it probably about a week short.
And this kind of goes to what we talked about several weeks ago, about just seeding the playoffs instead of giving guys, like, if you seed the playoffs, that Cardinals come in 4th seed, 5th seed, right?
Yeah,
because I know the Padres won more games than them. And
no, I don't think they did in the regular season. I think
didn't they?
No,
the Braves definitely did.
They did. I think the Pods had
101.
No, hold on, you're gonna make me look now. No,
I am going to make you look.
No, the Cardinals, I think, finished with more wins. I'm looking at it right now. St. Louis had 93 wins. San Diego had 89.
Oh,
so the Cardinals finished fourth seed
because
because
backwards.
No, they were behind. LA was first with 111. Atlanta and New York actually tied with 101. Right. So the Cardinals were the third seed.
No, they would have been the fourth.
Yeah,
which is about where they should have been.
Yeah, and they, like I said, Philadelphia. I think they squeaked in there. They were the last playoff team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were. So.
Yeah, because Milwaukee fell apart, and then the Phillies came in and took that last wild card spot.
Yeah,
boy, somebody. I mean, in any other major market, somebody's preparing his resume for that collapse.
Yeah,
for making that trade at the deadline, and then the team just falls apart. I'm sorry.
Why?
You're getting yourself a new general manager, but.
You think you'd have to just for backlash alone, right?
Right.
Even if you understood why it was done.
Completely lost the clubhouse. And I would imagine, obviously he's not going to say anything. I can't imagine that Craig Counsell and his coaching staff were particularly happy about that.
Probably not. But you think about what a GM's able to do and not do. I mean, he had to get some approval from above to trade off a star player like that. Now, how much selling did he have to do it? How much of it was he told, like, we have no plans financially to keep him here anyway, so get what you can for him now. I don't know.
Yeah, but you're in the middle of a playoff run. You're first in the National League Central. With him, you can possibly go deep into the playoffs, and you trade him. The players are pissed.
It depends on what kind of financial position the ownership wants to be in probably the next year going into the offseason, and we just don't know. Yeah, I think I agree, what was underestimated, how much of an impact it would actually make. I think they thought there would be some unhappy people, but I don't think they thought it would collapse like this. So I think it did backfire on them.
Absolutely.
And clearly they thought that, Devin Williams was going to be able to step in and fill that space, and he just clearly wasn't prepared to step in as the full-time closer.
And to be honest, it's a lot to ask somebody to step in and replace a guy like that, right? To even pick up some of the slack. It's a tall order.
Well, yeah. I mean, think about it. We knew that Mariano Rivera was a good reliever, but you didn't know that he was going to be the best closer of all time when he was asked to step in to replace John Wetland, who was not a slouch at the end of the game.
Right. Yeah.
So you never know what you're going to get. You can have an idea, but way to screw the pooch on that one, Milwaukee.
Oh, yeah. They did. I mean, ultimately they did. You can't argue that. Not that they didn't have some reason that made sense for doing it in the first place, but it sure didn't. That was probably one of their worst nightmares of doing that, would to have a collapse and have a lot of it be pointed at your situation in your bullpen.
Hey, I didn't mind watching it, though.
No, it was fun hearing about it. I certainly didn't like to watch Brewers games. Didn't watch the Cardinals play them much. I don't know what it is about. Oh, do you guys see this? Speaking of the Brewers, this is true, and I don't know. Sometimes Twitter throws shit out there, and then sometimes I run with it before I go look it up. But I didn't feel like it tonight. Christian Yelich is a finalist for a Gold Glove.
What?
Yeah. Is that true, or did I get fooled? Year.
Well, so is Ian Happ. So.
But doesn't like Yelich have like a noodle arm out there and left? Like
he has the last couple of years because I think his arm's been hurt.
Yeah, he's broken somehow. But I was a little surprised to see that. That 81 mile an hour throw coming in from left field sure doesn't intimidate some people. I think the only throw I've seen that was weaker was when Ozuna had his issues with his shoulder.
Right.
He was basically.
I was gonna say. I wasn't sure who had the stronger arm, Marcell Ozuna or Christian Yelich.
I think that goddamn guy, that Freeze guy that runs around the track and races people, I think he could have beat both throws in tonight. Of the highlights I've seen.
I tell you, that Yelich contract, not looking good right now.
No, it looked like they got a steal in the beginning.
It looks like that's going to be even more of an albatross than Jason Hayward. When you consider the size of Milwaukee's payroll and how much of their payroll that Christian Yelich eats up,
yeah, I guess
it's going to hurt if he doesn't return to at least a league average.
Yeah, I guess you do have a point with the amount of resources they've allocated to him. If you put that in perspective, if you measure that with all the other teams. Yeah, you're probably right. It probably will be an albatross. I was thinking
And
bigger
I'm
than
wondering
Hayward. I
if
wasn't
his
sure.
contract. I'm wondering if his contract had anything to do with them sending Hayward to San Diego.
Hater, yeah, probably.
Yeah, I'd have to think that has to play into the equation.
Because he's obviously due for a huge arbitration bump.
Mm-hmm.
But you hate to see it, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, I don't.
Speaking of things we hate to see, the Bader Rizzo thing the other night, man.
Yeah, who saw this one coming, right?
I will say the one thing that I do like seeing is Bader without his beautiful
hair.
locks, his hair. I like seeing that.
I almost didn't recognize him.
I've always been kind of, I don't know, 50-50 on the Yankees' ridiculous, sometimes
No
ridiculous
facial
requirements
hair.
as far as facial hair and haircuts and everything. But seeing Bader have to cut his hair, I'm totally in favor of the Yankees continuing this.
Well, I mean, obviously the sight of Matt Carpenter with just the mustache this year was enough to, get people going, what the fuck, okay, this rule is real. Like, they actually do this. Josh Donaldson was another one. He had that wild haircut for years, and then he had to clean it up, joining New York. We saw, Giambi out there with the A's, the Wild Boys out there in the West, frat house, and then he goes to the Yankees and he's clean shaven.
I wonder if when Rizzo got off the plane last year, if they didn't say to him, "Hey, Anthony, could you grow it a little bit? It's a touch short."
Like I say, he doesn't look any different. But
he was already in compliance with the Yankees look before he ever got on the plane.
Yeah,
he never grew facial hair.
Oh,
he
did have. You remember there was that one where he had the perm in the back.
Yeah, because he was trying to do something with KB, I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's an odd look. And who would have thought we'd look up and see those guys on, high-fiving each other in Yankees uniforms a couple of years ago? But it's right in front of us. There you go.
Yep.
And Bader is 4 out of his first 6 games is in the postseason. He hits, and like you were talking about it. I'm like, oh shit, here we go again. So it's a good thing I've muted most of these people because I just couldn't bear it right now. It's just, here we go. It's going to be. As soon as you get these outfield, and of course it's a fucking outfielder that has to do this, right? Any outfielder that they've dealt over the last 3 years is, either shown up in an all-star game or been a, all-star in the postseason. And it's just how it's going to go, I guess. So he's taking his first steps towards the Hall of Fame by just leaving the Cardinals, according to Cardinals Twitter. And of course, there's a chorus of, oh, sure, you get him away from Jeff Albert, the hitting coach, and look what these guys do. So it's same shit, different year, guys. That's all.
Yeah.
We got a Rosarina, 3.0. You can throw Adolis Garcia in that mix too. Another one they've dumped off and has had success elsewhere.
Hate to see it. So, Ron, speaking of departing Cardinals, what do you think? Is Adam Wainwright going to catch us all off guard and say, no, you know what? I'm going to wrap it. This is a career. Walk off with his buddies into the sunset? Or is he going to stick around?
No, if you listen to some of the things he said, it would kind of lead you to believe. Now, I think he's probably going to give it one more run. I would be surprised. I mean, he talked about, backpedal a little bit here. So his immediate comments after kind of led you to believe that he was, considering both directions, but, enough in there to make you think that, he doesn't quite sound like a guy who's ready to hang it up yet. And then he's talking about, his stride was out of whack due to just a little injury or something he had in Pittsburgh, or it was before Pittsburgh, but his stride and his timing was out of whack. So he thinks he, pinpointed what his issue was there late in the year. Hearing stuff like that, it doesn't sound like a guy who's ready to hang it up. And I'd be fine either way. Like if he decides that he's not going to, he's going to be over 40, he's going to be 41, I think, at some point in time next year. So if he decided to walk away, I think most would be at peace with that. They're going to have to solve pitching anyway, regardless. I don't know how much you can rely on a 41-year-old to be that healthy and be one of your top 3 starters for a whole year. Doesn't have Yachty there anymore. Not that he necessarily needs him. He's kind of been around the block, but
we're going to get there.
Yeah. So I'd be surprised if he does retire, because he sounds like a guy who still wants to play. But also wouldn't have to pull my car over if they announce on the radio at some point tomorrow that he's called it quits. I fine either way. Kind of neutral on the subject, to be honest with you.
Seems to me that Albert retiring is going to have probably let's assume, just for the sake of argument, let's assume that Wainwright does call it a career. Seems like Albert retiring has the least impact on the 2023 Cardinals. Yes. Of those three,
I mean, it's hard to look at it that way when you look at his second half of 22, but I think it's always been in the plan. It's always been a known thing that he's going to be done after this year. So I have to say, looking at it that way, yeah, it's the least impactful. I think they have a few candidates there that they can plug in DH and cover it for a full 162. So I do think that'll have the least impact.
And then finally, and I'm going to start this one off by asking Elliott, what's going to be your favorite part of Yadier Molina's not being in a Cardinals uniform next year? Is it going to be the first day of spring training when he doesn't show for pitchers and catchers reporting, or is it going to be the first meltdown on Cards Twitter when a catcher either lets a ball get past him or doesn't get a call that Yadi would have gotten, or, whatever it is? What's going to be your favorite moment?
We have to go with option C here, and no more neck tattoo on the catcher.
I know you're so sensitive to that.
No.
Ron, 2 decades with this guy largely behind the plate. I mean, sorry.
I'm looking forward to the meltdowns on Twitter when somebody doesn't get a close call on a pitch that could have been framed a little bit better.
I don't know that you'll see that. There's a pretty thick army of young Cardinal fans out there on Twitter that, for some reason, they will appreciate the old guys up to a point, and then they're just done with them. They want to run them out the pasture. There's too many of those folks that exist on Twitter that were bitching because he wasn't pinched hit for in the last game and his last at bat. There's the whole hashtag free Kisner that's gone on for a couple years by a couple dumbasses out there. So I don't think we'll hear a ton of whining and bitching about, maybe the pitching staff's ERAs, half point higher than it was the year before. And there'll be some on there that go, well, it wouldn't have been that way with Yachty behind the plate.
How many years do you think he steps away before he comes back to start coaching?
I don't know. I have no idea. And I have no idea if he'll come back and he'll show up in a St. Louis camp or somewhere down in, Puerto Rico, or I just don't know. You'd have to, your guess is as good as mine, man. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see him in Jupiter next year, just kind of a few days in spring training, just working with some of the catchers. Surely they'll invite him, but it might be several years before you see him come back. He's got a young family. He's probably wanting to move on with life. And some players, I'm sure that when they decide to retire, they need to step away for a few years. So they don't get that itch or that urge to, hey, shit, I could still do this. They probably want to be away from it for a while before they're willing to put a uniform on, back on, and even step out on practice field. So I don't know. No idea. Have to ask Benji.
How long is the wait before he and Albert get fitted for their red jackets? Are they eligible immediately, or does the Hall of Fame make them wait a couple of years?
I'm not.
I mean the Cardinals Hall of Fame.
The Cardinals
obviously.
Hall of Fame. I'm not sure. It could happen as early as next year. I don't know if they wait. I don't know if there is a waiting period on that. I know Chris Carpenter got his pretty quick. Tony La Russa got his a few years after he retired, maybe even the next year after he retired. The first time he retired, anyway. Matt Holliday, I believe, just got his this year, but I don't think he was done until 2017. So maybe that was 5 years. I don't know. It could be a few years that they wait on that stuff, but I don't know. Can they carve up a couple statues by midsummer next year? And that's probably what it will depend on too. So I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah.
I mean, it took me 3 months to get a couple of bronze lions board at a foundry. So yeah, I would imagine that they could have them ready by next. They got to get to work on the design though. That's going to take a while.
Yeah, that'll take a while. You know how the artistes are, man. You can't rush them. So no.
That's right.
Oh, collision on a foul ball there, catcher and Rizzo.
Yep.
Catcher should have backed off. Rizzo's got to call that. It's his ball. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. Good question. I have no idea. I have no idea what the wait period is. They'll have them. It'll be a couple years probably.
Are you worried about not having Yachty behind the plate next year?
I mean, whenever you've got that kind of quality and you've been used to it behind the plate as far as just game calling, feel for the game, guys always, one or two steps ahead of the smartest guy in the dugout across from him. Yeah, to lose that is always a little bit of a concern. I just haven't seen enough of the rest of the Cardinals catching to know how much more improved are we athletically. Certainly not worried at all about offensive production out of the catcher's position post Yachty, but by the time he was, his last couple of years, the bat didn't matter all that much. So you could see that maybe slightly improving depending on who they have back there. Yeah, the defense has always been the thing. It'll be interesting, Pete, to see a few years from now. The Cardinals were the team that was run on the least, and it has been that way for years. And the second closest isn't even close. So that'll be the interesting one to watch, right? How much do teams begin to run on the Cardinals that hadn't in the past? How much does that change their game plan? How much does that change what they're used to doing out there on the field? That'll be an interesting one to see. So yeah, I mean there are some concerns, but at age 40 behind the plate, you gotta expect it. It was either going to fall off, and he was going to return to average defender anyway. So
it's not like teams run concerns,
but they're not going to collapse because of it.
Yeah. But to that point, Elliott and Ron, obviously you raised it as well. You're going to have to normalize all those statistics though, because you can't jump to conclusions immediately because next year they'll have bigger bases, and so you would assume, that we're going to see more movement on the base pads, at least initially.
Well, you know what? Good. If we do good league wide, I hope we do.
Yep. And you never know, we could, at least early in the year, we could see, I could foresee an increase in caught stealings initially, because guys start to take bigger leads because they think that they have a little bit more leeway because the base is a little bit bigger, and seeing, not necessarily that they're going to get caught at second, but rather that they get caught wandering off the base because they think they can get back quicker with that extra 3 inches. And it'll be interesting to see what happens.
And certainly a new permanent catcher, knowing he's not back there anymore, I think they're maybe a little more likely to be tested early on. If you're playing against the Cardinals, and it'll be funny to watch a couple guys that have never stolen a base at Busch Stadium before actually go ahead and try, and they might succeed. They might just take the goddamn base with them if they steal it. Like I stole one in St. Louis. So yeah, I think defensively there are, I don't know. We'll see. We could have your guy there from the north side behind the plate, which isn't going to be an upgrade defensively, but
it's going to be a massive downgrade.
I have not changed my mind about that, by the way. I know you asked me about that a few weeks ago. I'm in the same exact spot. I think it's a bunch of BS.
All right. So speaking of the north side, and the timing on this is perfect, because if you want to sync this at home, if you want to go back and watch the game 2 of the ALCS, if you're looking to sync it up right now, Anthony Rizzo is coming up to bat. So Elliott, I threw this one out there for you to ponder on.
Yeah.
The big names that the Cubs traded or released over the last, 2 years, 18 months, whatever it is. Which one do you feel that they've missed the most? Rizzo, Bryant, Baez, Schwarber, Darvish, Kimbrel. I mean, those are the really big names that probably all, to a certain extent, contributed to the results of the last 2 seasons. Which one do you think has been most missed by the Cubs?
Fuck, before you answer that, Elliott, did you guys see me twitch just now?
Nope.
I got fooled by the goddamn TV. They showed a replay of a home run that Rizzo hit. Yeah. And I thought it was because I don't have the sound on, so I missed it. I was looking down. So, all right, never mind. False alarm.
Yeah, from the other night. No, I think Darvish is probably the most missed. He's probably one of those players that could have helped the Cubs out a ton this year, every 5th day. I mean, how many pitchers did the Cubs roll out this year? 67. 68. It was something like they led the league in the amount of pitchers that they used during the season. So having someone in there that you could count on every fifth day
68 pitchers
would have been great. What's up?
68 different pitchers.
Yeah, they set a franchise record this
Holy
year.
shit. What do they call up guys from rookie league?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They wanted to see what they had down there this year, because I mean, you had two starters hurt for the first half of the season. One guy who was hurt for 3/4 of the season for the most part.
Hendricks basically didn't pitch for him.
Yeah. So yeah, they had that bus going back and forth between Iowa and Indiana and Tennessee. So I mean,
I read today they had I think it's the first time in a non-strike shortened year that the Cubs didn't have a single pitcher reach 140 innings pitched.
Yeah. Well, and you remember 2016, they had 3 pitchers throw over 200 innings.
Right. Yeah, that makes a huge difference, right? When you've got that reliability at the top of the rotation, even if it's only 3 out of 5 pitchers. But imagine just being more settled in the bullpen, knowing what your role is, and mostly sticking to it throughout the year makes a world of difference.
Yeah, Lester, Hendricks, and John Lackey all threw 200 innings.
John Lackey and John Lester, Cardinals legends.
That's right. Ron, as an outsider looking in, who do you think the Cubs have missed?
I think I understand Elliott's point on you, Darvish. He's thinking about what would the difference be today, as far as like an impact to a fan.
No, I'm thinking on the field.
On the field, well,
impact to the fan.
Impact to the fan has got to be Rizzo. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, you could maybe argue Bryant a little bit, but because you know most fans might have thought, man, this guy's going to be here for 20 years. But I'd have to say from a fan impact, definitely Rizzo. Now from on the field, given how Darvish is pitching now, I'd probably agree with Elliott. I think there's a pretty strong case that, look, I don't. Given the state of their pitching,
it was between him or Schwarber, because what Schwarber has done the last couple of years he's been good.
Yeah.
So
no, he hasn't. He hit like 210.
He's hit with a lot of power. He's hit with a lot of power
with 40 bombs.
He's hit
great. The second coming of Adam Dunn.
Yeah, and he embodies everything I hate about the way the game is played today. Although I do have respect for Schwarber, and I hate to see him up in a situation against my team because I'm like, son of a bitch, he's going to run into one. Same thing with Happ. Only when he plays the Cardinals, though. And I'm so sick of seeing his unhappy face in that uniform, guys. I thought I was done with it, but. Yeah, Elliott, I got to agree with you. More I think about it, like today, Darvish would make a bigger impact, I believe, than any of these other guys that the Cubs have traded away. And look, Chris Bryant, he's not in baseball hell. Colorado is a wonderful city, and that ballpark's pretty nice. But fuck,
he hasn't really played in it.
They're the only ones that were going to give him that money, and he went ahead and took it, and it was like default. It was a default switch to money being offered. And does he have an opt-out or anything at all?
Probably.
Yeah, that's kind of standard these days.
I think so.
But Jesus Christ, I mean.
Although the way he played this year, he's not going to exercise it.
Yeah, you would think not. Right, yeah.
He played the first 40 games, maybe?
He's going to have to go. Let's assume that after year 3, he's got an opt-out. He's going to have to play better than he has in his career for 2 seasons in a row in order to even consider opting out. Because right now, based on what he's delivered the last 4 years, I can't see the market saying, "Oh hell yeah, I'm willing to pay you $40 million a year."
Yeah,
yeah, it's just been.
But really, what's it like being in the greatest party in the world in a couple cities, in Chicago for those years, and then making a playoff run with the Giants, and then you end up in Colorado. It's like going from a frat house to church.
Yeah,
that's the fun meter. From
honestly, gents,
competitive baseball
I
fun
respect
meter.
Your opinions.
Yep,
it's Rizzo by far. There was such a hole.
I can't disagree with you.
There was such a hole at first base, especially this year. And Schwindel was out of his mind last year. But it's not just last year and this year, but looking ahead to like next year, there's no clear sense that the Cubs are going to be able to do anything to address first base.
I like that episode title better, Pete.
What's that?
Schwindel lost his mind. I like that as an episode title way better.
Okay,
Frat house
we can go with that. But I mean, seriously, like,
who do they have in the minors that plays great?
Mervis is probably the best pop, but I think he's rated average defensively. Like, and I think that more than anything else, that's where the Cubs have missed Rizzo. I mean, you miss having his bat and his consistency and his leadership, but I think the biggest thing that they lost when he left was his defense. Schwindel didn't measure up. Mervis isn't going to measure up. There's nobody that they're going to plug in there. Even if they go and they sign, there's talk that they're going to sign Abreu. Let's assume that they do. He's still not Rizzo at first base.
No,
never nervous, Mervis.
We'll see.
Mash Mervis.
He's at what, 38 home runs this year among all levels when you add in the AFL?
Yeah, 115 RBIs, something like that.
You hope that he gets to rest up this offseason and that he gives the Cubs a very difficult decision in spring training.
Yankees down to their final out.
But you can't count on it,
All these Houston fans that don't know a whole lot about baseball are all up on their feet.
All these Houston fans listening for that trash can bang.
Well, Yankees are up, so.
Well, at least it's not Harrison Bader.
Sure.
Because then I would literally throw up for the first time on camera. All right. Speaking of guys moving on, Jay Hay, in just a couple of weeks will no longer be a Cub. So this is the other one I asked you, Elliott. Look, Alec Mills, Rafael Ortega, who really cares? Question is, are the Cubs going to cut bait on what is it? I think it's $9 million remaining on David Bodie and say thanks. I mean, that's a potentially valuable roster spot. You could potentially lose a Rule 5 draft pick to the Padres because you owe David Bodie $9 million.
That's what the Cardinals will do.
Let him walk.
Well, I mean, it's not letting him walk. He's got a contract. You would have to release him. You'd have to eat that.
Yeah. Cardinals didn't do that type of shit.
I think they do it.
God, I hope so. I'm going to be so pissed if David Bodie is on the 40-man.
Too many players down that you can bring up that can get really great experience to see where they're at. I mean, our biggest, like the most guys that we have are outfielders. We don't need another outfielder. We don't need another below average outfielder.
Is that what Bodie became? I thought he was an infielder.
No, he's an infielder.
Yeah. Infielder, outfielder. We're stocked full in the minors with good guys.
But even regardless of for me, the position doesn't matter nearly as much as that 40-man spot. And if it comes down to him or I don't know, Miguel Amaya. I mean, I know Miguel's already on the 40-man, but let's say that it was either Miguel Amaya or David Bodie. I mean, granted, Bodie has a flair for the dramatic and he's come through in some big moments, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy. He hasn't contributed enough. I know he got hot at the end of the year, but I don't feel like he's contributed enough to secure that 40-man spot.
No,
I'd release him and offer him a minor league contract and not a guaranteed spot. Minor league contract, invitation to spring training. There are other guys we need to protect.
I think he probably walks at that. Really?
Other guys we need to protect are other guys that we need to make a trade or move in the next year or two.
Very good point. And we all know how important it is to stay protected because sometimes life throws you a curve, and that's why you need Allstate. The Wiley Group has 2 locations in Festus and Arnold to serve you. They offer home, auto, boat, motorcycle, business, life insurance, investments, and so much more. Offer a customized approach that's unique to your situation to make sure that you, your family, and your assets are properly protected. And now more than ever, you need to watch your assets. They also offer great rates and savings. So give Sean and his team a call at 636-764-6294. They'll help you with an insurance quote right over the phone. You can even give them a call if you just want to talk sports. They'll do that too. Ask them what they think about Yachty not being behind the plate for the first time in 20 years. Look, we all have busy lives, so you can email Sean at SeanWiley@allstate.com and talk to him about your coverage options. And remember, just like Ron, you're in good hands. Ron, I can't believe you didn't pick up that cue. Elliott said,
"No, I have it pulled up, but I'm only
being protected, and you were so distracted you missed out on an ad read.
I was
when
watching.
Does that happen?
I was watching Donaldson get pitched ball 4, and I had it up, but I'm only using one screen out here. I'm used to using multiple, obviously, when I'm inside, so I didn't have it handy. But whatever. You did a nice job, though.
Thanks. Hey,
Matt Carpenter's up with Josh Donaldson on first.
I just love that mustache.
Oh my God. Honestly, I'm surprised they're not pinch hitting for him.
I mean, he looks like an extra in a 1980s Cold War movie, and he's Russian.
No, that's not exactly what I was thinking.
Were you thinking Freddie Mercury?
I was thinking that he looks like a pizza delivery driver in a 1970s porn.
I was thinking Freddie Mercury stunt double.
Ooh,
on that movie.
There you go. That's a good one. Mamma mia, that's a spicy meatball.
All right. You were gonna say something else, Pete. I think
I was not going to say anything else.
We're just gonna sit here and watch the game on an audio podcast. Nobody's gonna hear it till tomorrow.
Okay, if we don't want to, then while we're watching the game, you can answer this. Ron, I know what you want to happen. I'm going to throw this to you first because I'm going to allow Elliott to collect his thoughts. What do you think is more likely to happen? Ian Happ gets extended or that he gets traded?
Traded.
Is that your fervent hope or your thought?
Both.
Yes.
How about you, Elliott? Or, I mean, there is the third option that you let him play out this contract year and then see what happens after that.
I think that's more likely. I think they'll let him play out just because of to see if last year wasn't a fluke or this past year wasn't a fluke. I mean, this was his most complete year. He figured out his at bat. He played a strong outfield. It's not going to hurt you. So, I mean, I'm sure there's teams that'll take a flyer on him, but what are you honestly going to get back? I mean, have him play the next year. I mean
credit where due.
Yeah.
He was more consistent this year than we've ever seen from him. Like, he actually put together a whole year.
Pressure off? You think it was because pressure was off? Low expectations on the team?
Maybe.
It's possible.
It's a Gold Glove final.
Uh-oh. The old Stros are up 2 games to nothing. Carpenter couldn't pull off that fucking salsa magic bullshit.
Not. Where's your salsa now, son?
Left it. It's in his garden, freezing over.
I can't wait to see Schwarber taking aim at the Crawford boxes.
You have to go opposite field, though, Pete.
Yeah, he can do that. He's got enough power to put in the car. Did you see the stats on Bregman's home run? 92 miles an hour off the bat. Now, I know we're not big on this podcast.
Did Christian Yelich throw it out for him?
Exactly.
It would have been 76 had Christian Yelich been pitching.
That's right. I mean, my God, that's an out. I bet when you look at that, the Would It Dong Twitter feed, I'm sure that's only a home run in Houston and not anywhere else.
Hey, what about Schwarber's home run the other night?
Oh my God.
488 feet, 129 miles per hour off the bat.
No, it was 120.
120.
It was
okay.
120.
You know,
Come on, don't make him into more. Don't annoy Ron more than you have to.
We got to think that, like, pitching to Schwarber's like teeing off, and that there's only a little spot of water, and it only takes up about 11 degrees of your angle, and you hit that fucker right in the water. That's what a pitcher has to do to Kyle Schwarber. Like, he's gonna, if you throw it there, he's gonna get you. All you have to do is not throw it there. And 40 times this year, a pitcher screwed up and threw it there.
Well, and did you hear what Yu Darvish said afterwards?
No.
He said the next time he sees him, he might have to punch him.
Yeah.
I mean,
I got Schwarber in that fight, by the way. If I had to put some money.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But
okay, so I agree. I mean, look, if it's one choice or the other, I think it's far more likely that Hap gets extended than gets traded. But I think you're right, Elliott. I think they let him play it out and then, buy some time for their prospects to come up and leave him there. And then,
what? Maybe they trade him at the deadline.
Yeah,
depending on.
I think what ends up happening is they're going to wait until they get if they get an overwhelming offer, they'll certainly listen. But I don't think that they're entering the offseason or even in spring training anticipating that.
Well, they're probably
they're starting left.
Yeah, they're probably a little bit smarter to wait until July too. I mean, you never know. Like some injury could be sustained to an outfielder. Right. Maybe a team has a spot they've desperately needed DH or a platoon somewhere, and you might be able to pull off a little something for him. So,
and kind of what we thought the Mets were going to do this past year for Wilson.
What the hell are all these idiots doing?
They want to know how he possibly got that 92 mile an hour. Would you say 96 or 92 mile an hour?
No. I'm talking about all the Astros fans who look like they're standing just with their back to the field.
I think they're just waiting to get out.
Okay. Because it just looks like they're trying to be rude or something. And it just
it's just they can't get out.
Okay. Are you sure?
Yeah, the Crawford boxes are too small. The exits are too small there. Everything's fucking shrunk. Everything's supposed to be bigger and better in Texas, except
the Astros.
Except Enron Field. I'm still calling it that, just because it's the Astros.
Enron Field. Holy shit.
Is that the most corrupt team in baseball? Is it not fitting that their first stadium-sponsored name was Enron Field? It was, right? It was Enron. Didn't it start off that way?
Yep.
That's right.
Yep. Connect those dots, boys. The smartest guys in the room. Wonderful documentary if you've never seen it.
100%.
Andor.
Well,
can we pivot real quick? I want to get your thoughts on this one. Assuming you guys have at least caught up to episode 6. By the way, baseball people.
Not the newest one.
Nerd time.
Yeah.
Nerd time.
Thanks for joining us, baseball people.
Go crack open your Busch Lights, Dad. We're done talking about baseball.
Yes, up through episode 6.
Yeah, I watched the one yesterday. So
I tried to watch it last night and I fell asleep because I've just been tired.
And I appreciate the character building, the world building. Maybe it's inevitably it'll lead up to something a little bit better. You'll get a payoff, but man, they've. I'm not I need instant action guy either. I appreciate all that stuff, but this one, a couple of these episodes, I'm just like collapsed back on my chair and they're like, "Fuck, really?" It's like, where was that going?
Yeah, it's taken its time.
Yeah, which is
slow burning.
At the end of the day, it might be all right. I've definitely have binge watched series before where they started off really slow. Usually, season 1 was at times the one that was hardest to get through, and once you get over the hump, there it gets a lot better. So.
Episode 5 was fantastic, though.
Was it 6?
That was 5. 5 was the heist, right?
I thought it was 6.
It was
6. 6 was the heist. Okay, so it's 7. I haven't seen.
Okay, we won't spoil it for you. 7 is Yep. I'll just leave it there.
Okay,
leave it there right at your feet. You can pick it up later.
I'll probably go watch it after this.
I will give them credit. Although they should take it as an object lesson. It's incredible what you can produce simply from a look standpoint. When you actually take the time to produce it rather than rush it out in what looks like 6 weeks, the look of Andor compared to Boba Fett, Kenobi, I mean, it's night and day.
Yeah.
This actually looks like a world that's lived in. It doesn't look fake.
Yeah. And I'd have to say that it has a lot of reflection, I think, of the way Rogue One was made too.
Yes.
Just as far as what you're talking about, Pete, is the lived in world. Everything's kind of a little bit greasy, grimy. You can see the rivets on everything. I'd have to agree with that. It'll be interesting when this series is going to go on for a little while here. I think we're going to get a couple seasons of it.
Isn't this season like 16 or 18 episodes?
12. They're going to do another 12 after it, but that's again.
Are they okay?
You guys are going to have to tell me about it because I got my renewal notice for Disney Plus last week, and Yeah, not going to pay for it.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, they've ruined 2 franchises.
Jesus Christ.
If they want to, they can go ahead and they can do it without my money. They don't need my money.
All right.
Spend
So
it
Pete's
somewhere
going to
else.
duck out. So there's half our show premise is out the door now. He's not going to watch. He's not going to pay for Disney Plus. What are we going to talk about?
$6.
It's not worth it.
Oh my God.
Okay.
It's not.
If I stopped paying for it, my kid would shit a brick for all the Spider-Man fucking
and that's
animation.
part of, and honestly, that's part of what it made the decision that much easier. Is my kid doesn't care. I was like, "Hey, you want to watch Andor?" No.
This is not a show for kids. This is not a show for the young crowd.
Well, no,
this one is not.
He obviously doesn't know that, but I mean, clearly,
Bad Batch season 2.
there was nothing about Kenobi.
He's not thought it through, Elliott. He's trying to take some stubborn stance right now. He's not completely thought through it. There will be a point in time, I predict, the next 5 to 6 months. He's probably not going to tell us. He doesn't want to shame himself here on the podcast publicly. He's going to look like he's sticking to his guns.
I enjoyed that, Thor Love and Thunder came out rather quickly on it. And then, you're going to get Wakanda
Thor Love and
Forever.
Thunder was another piece of shit.
I didn't like it as much as the other Thor movies.
I thought it followed the comic nicely.
I didn't read the comic.
Yeah,
it's a really good storyline.
I liked the last one though. I think the last Thor movie is probably the one with Jeff Goldblum in it. And I think that's why I loved it so much.
Yeah, Ragnarok.
I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah,
of the Thor movies, yes,
that one's my favorite.
Yep. But still, I have to say my Marvel movies that I've went back and watched the most often has been Guardians of the Galaxy. I think that one's probably my favorite of all of them.
That one, and I've probably watched Endgame probably just as much.
I think I've watched it once.
I really like it. I don't know.
That was because that was the good one of the Avengers movies.
You didn't like Age of Ultron?
Unnecessary.
Age of Ultron sucked.
Yeah, that was pretty rough.
You know what else sucks?
Buying a car.
Definitely
does.
sucks.
Man, it stresses me out.
It does, and we all know buying a vehicle can be stressful. We don't want to stress Pete out. It doesn't have to be. Fifth Street Motors, located in Pacific, Missouri, will help you find the vehicle you need no matter what brand. Fifth Street Motors believes in giving you the best price on a pre-owned vehicle that fit your budget. Give Brandon or Dawn a call today at 573-259-1306 and tell them the Team of Rivals podcast sent you. That's a wrap, fellas.
That is a wrap.
Oh. Glad to be back.
Turkey wrap with Brussels sprouts.
Boy, we're sputtering at the end. You better give us our exit.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to comment and subscribe. And if you want to help spread the word, please give us a 5-star review and tell your friends to do the same. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to podcasts, as well as Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube. Be sure to check out the other Gateway City Sports Network podcasts, including the Derek King Sports Show, That's a Winner podcast, and Talking Sports in the Bleachers with Don Glenn. You can find Elliott on Twitter at
TOR_Elliott.
And you can find Ron at
TR_Ron75, soon to be off the top follows on Twitter. I predict.
Get in touch with us at the show at teamofrivalspodcast.com or on any social media channel at Team of Rivals Pod. Gentlemen, good to be back. Good to have the team back together.
Oh, yeah.
Frank Schwindel, he lost his mind.
He absolutely lost his mind. All right. I even changed the goddamn order.
Start over. Stop it. Start over. Do you know that we got a copyright strike? I mean, it's not a real strike, but we got a copyright strike on YouTube because you played that last time.
It's a licensable piece of music that I've licensed.
Well, YouTube said that we didn't and that we couldn't monetize our
well, no shit. Well, we don't want to anyway. All right. We'll be back at some point in time in the future, folks. We don't shit. It might be December, the rate we're going. But until then, until we talk to you again, we love you all so much. Bye-bye, everyone. There we go.